समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
There are weeks when news cycle moves really fast. That's tough for us journalists. There are days then when news cycle moves even faster, right? That is tougher still. But then there can be weeks with successive days where news cycle moves all the time. All the time a new headline comes and an important headline comes. So we were still figuring out the implications and importance of India's holding the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance, and I had done some homework on that, and I will share that with you. And my colleague, our deputy editor, Moushumi Gupta, will join in a bit after I've explained the larger situation to you to talk about particular projects. She'll join me in. And while we were still sort of digesting it and understanding it, the Prime Minister spoke out this morning, which was very important, and some sort of a diplomatic response. Diplomatic to the extent that India's steps were taken on the diplomatic plane, non-military plane. Pakistan has also announced its own responses. So what are we doing then? This is a rare day when you are going to have 2 episodes of Cut The Clutter. So this will be the first, will come out earlier, us talking about Indus Waters Treaty and what it means, what does India's holding it in abeyance means, what are the choices, what are the prospects, what does it mean for India, for Pakistan, and what is the picture on the ground, just to understand the Indus Waters Treaty, because this is not just something everybody says, Indus Waters Treaty, do this, do that, good, bad, etc. But we need to understand what it is. That is what I will do right now. So we know that Indus Waters Treaty is something that India and Pakistan signed with the mediation of the World Bank. World Bank is a signatory and a kind of third umpire to this. This was signed in 1960 between Field Marshal Ayub and Jawaharlal Nehru on the Indian side. This treaty has so far stood the test of time. It's been 65 years. This treaty has held through wars, that is 1965, 1971, many near wars including Kargil, Op Parakram, etc., etc. This in fact is held out because this is a world that's heading for water wars in many areas, or water wars in the sense that there are many serious issues with water in many areas. The most important that we will see going ahead, besides of course the Indus waters and Indus system waters in the subcontinent, will be what's happening with River Nile in Africa, because when Egypt was the only developed country in that area, it made use of River Nile and built a lot of economy around it. Now the countries which are upstream of the river, because that's a south-north flowing river, the poorer countries of the past also want to use the water, and that's where, that is Sudan, Ethiopia, etc., and that's where trouble is coming up. So Indus Waters Treaty was seen as an example of a good agreement that held out through periods of crisis. However, it has not survived, at least for now, it has not survived this latest crisis, because just the outrage over selective killing of tourists, these are not just all tourists but selectively Hindus after identification, that has caused an outrage in the country. Also, these bodies have gone to, as the Prime Minister said in his speech, they've gone to all parts of the country as far as Arunachal Pradesh. There is grief everywhere and there is anger everywhere. That's the reason Indus Water Treaty has been put in abeyance. The fact is that in 2021, India had already moved the right quarters, that is the formal quarters, by asking Pakistan for a renegotiation of the treaty, because India saw some problems with it. I will explain these problems to you as we go ahead. I had done some of this in an earlier Cut the Clutter, episode 1164. Today's is episode 1646. So this is 2.5 years later. Then this issue had come up. India had asked for a renegotiation, but it did not go anywhere. What does the Indus Water Treaty say? So look at this map. This is the map of the northern subcontinent, and this tells you, see these rivers coming in from the Himalayan region. All of these are Himalayan rivers. Some originate from Tibet, some originate from within India. So if you see these rivers, you start, Indus originates from Tibet in China. Satluj originates in Tibet in China, and then none of the others involved in this case originate in China. Chenab, which is one of the western rivers, the essential fact of Indus Waters Treaty is that the rivers of the rivers of the west are Indus, Chenab, Jhelum. That is 3 rivers. Then Ravi, Byas and Satluj. Those are the 3 rivers on the eastern side. Almost all of the water of the western rivers, that is Indus, Chenab and Jhelum, belongs to Pakistan, in the sense that India is supposed to let it go to Pakistan, minus some, say about 18% or so, which India can keep, and that is water for local irrigation, for local drinking, power generation. Some gets consumed like that, just like that. So the rest goes into Pakistan. That is the commitment in the treaty. However, of the 3 eastern rivers, that is Ravi, Byas and Satluj, all of the water belongs to India. All of the water belongs to India. India has no obligation to give any water to Pakistan. If India so wishes, India can shut these rivers off and nothing will go into Pakistan. India has done almost as much. The fact is that after building a series of dams on these rivers, India already uses about 90%. Aspirationally about 95%, but 90% mainly because the Harike Dam or the Harike Barrage, the last point where the Satluj goes into Pakistan, before which and where Byas already has joined Satluj, that is where the confluence is, that barrage needs repairs. The second thing is that another dam called Shahpur Kandi, that's been delayed for a very long time. It's only now that Shahpur Kandi Dam has been constructed. Reservoir is filling up. I think this monsoon it will be full up. That reservoir will also stop a lot of water. That water otherwise would have gone into Pakistan or to the Pakistani side, because Ravi river is a complex river. I will come to that. But before we go into those minutiae, let me give you the larger figure. While it's one thing to say that 3 rivers, the water mostly belongs to Pakistan or almost entirely belongs to Pakistan, India has to let go. Those are the western rivers going through Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. While it's one thing to say that 3 rivers of the west, water belongs to Pakistan, and 3 rivers of the east, water belongs to India, the equation is not so simple, because the rivers of the western region carry a lot more water than rivers of the east. If you look at all the water that India is entitled to from the 3 rivers that India owns, if I may put it like that, then it comes to about 20 billion cubic meters. What is a cubic meter? 1 cubic meter is 1,000 liters. It's like 1,000 bottles of Bisleri, Aquafina, Kinley, whatever. So you can visualize that is 1 cubic meter. So 20 billion cubic meters sounds like a lot of water that belongs to India. However, what Pakistan gets is a lot more. Pakistan gets 5 times as much, in fact more than 5 times as much. That is 218 billion cubic meters. That's from the western rivers. That is the Indus Waters Treaty. Now, even within the 3 rivers that India has on the eastern side, there are complexities. River Ravi, for example, it is described as a trans-border river because it's along one of the tributaries of a tributary of Ravi. Uj river is a tributary of Ravi. Please look at your map carefully. It's along that tributary that Sir Cyril Radcliffe drew the line, drew the border line. And from then on, the tehsils of Shakargarh, Pathankot and Gurdaspur border went along those tehsil or you can say taluka, I don't know how you call it, tehsil. In many parts of the country, usage differs. That is where the line was drawn. Now, if you see Ravi River, it's called a transborder river because until it goes into Pakistan, it forms the border between India and Pakistan. On the Indian side, there's always been suspicion that while Pakistan does not openly steal from the river, they carry out a lot of deep irrigation alongside the river to draw out the water which should have belonged to India. At the same time, Indus Waters Treaty says that Pakistan is bound by the treaty to allow the free flow of the water of these rivers and their tributaries, these three eastern rivers, if they happen to stray through Pakistani territory. Now that happens with Satluj in one place near Suleiman Ki headworks. Also it happens with Ravi. Again, Uj River, which is a significant tributary of the Ravi, that comes out of above Kishtwar from one side of Pir Panjal ranges in the larger Jammu area, and then it goes 100 kilometers into Pakistani Punjab. It goes into Pakistani Punjab, the Uj River, then makes a U-turn and comes back into India. All of this water is India's. So even if water goes into Pakistan, Pakistan is not supposed to use it. This water belongs to the Ravi River. That's the reason India has been trying to build a dam called the Uj project, which would detain quite a bit of this water so it doesn't go into Pakistan. It does not give them the option of drawing it. This, however, is India's water. This is not on one of the western rivers. This is on one of the eastern rivers. However, all these projects then keep running into questions, challenges, litigation, because when the two countries don't see eye to eye on anything, why would they agree, at least not agree easily on anything to do with water, which is such a sensitive subject. Now once again, see the big picture. See the big picture and see how these rivers are coming out. Indus is sort of the mother system. That's why Indus Waters Treaty. It is sort of the mother system, but very little of Indus goes through India. It enters India in Ladakh, goes right through Ladakh, and then goes into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, Gilgit-Baltistan areas, goes around Nanga Parbat, then goes into Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and then near the famous bend in Attock, mentioned much in the Kiplingesque literature, that's where river Kabul joins it, and then river Indus comes into Punjab, Pakistani Punjab, near a place called Kalapani. Along Indus, there are many major projects and also along its tributaries in the Pakistani controlled side, including Gilgit-Baltistan, which is India's territory. Look at the map of India. There is no doubt about that. That's because there is a lot of incline available. The more incline you have in a watercourse, rivers, stream, whatever, the more power you can produce. Then the Indus flows towards the sea, towards Karachi. If you look at the map, that's how it looks. And as it's flowing in that direction, the 5 rivers of Punjab, the 3 eastern rivers, and then Chenab and Jhelum are also after crossing into Pakistani Punjab, they are also converging. So they converge together in a place called Panjnad. Panjnad, 5 rivers, right? 5 rivers join there. It becomes a much bigger river. And later before Shekhar, they join the Indus. That is sometimes called Satnad, because 5 Punjab rivers, 1 Indus and 1 Kabul river, so it becomes Satnad. That then becomes a humongous river. Through much of the year, it can be many kilometers wide, particularly during the monsoon, when water comes in from different watersheds, because it gets water from Himalayan watershed. It also gets the water from the Hindu Kush waters. So that is the system right now, and that is what the issue is about. India is now saying that we don't feel particularly bound by Indus Waters Treaty, which means what? It doesn't mean that India can immediately stop the flow of water. India does not have the infrastructure ready, even if it wanted to stop the flow of water. But it means India stops sharing information. It means projects that Pakistan might have got injuncted through the Indus Waters tribunal. For example, the project on Kishan Ganga River, Kishan Ganga on the Pakistani side is called Neelam River. So as the river goes into Kishan Ganga in the Pakistani occupied Kashmir area is called Neelam River, Neelum. There, they have also built a project called Neelam Jhelum project. They've been disputing Kishan Ganga project with India, although India returns all the water it uses to generate power to them. The Pakistani argument, however, is that while you return, it's all right, you return the water to us, but you don't return the water to us in the same place. What that means is Pakistanis say that you use this water to generate electricity, and then you let some of it go into another tributary of the Kishan Ganga River. So while it comes and joins the Neelam system, it does not come where our Neelam Jhelum project is located. So there is a dispute about that. Pakistan's in international court for that, and also the other big project on the Indian side, Ratle Dam on Chenab River, that also Pakistan has got blocked, Pakistan has got injuncted. So I told you earlier, when India wanted a renegotiation, what was that renegotiation about? Mainly, it was about Article 9 of the Indus Waters Treaty. What does Article 9 say? Article 9 says, in case of a dispute, there will be three options that the two sides will have. One, to resolve it bilaterally by talking with each other. Second, you can reach out to a neutral expert and say that whatever the expert says, both of us will agree. And third is that you ask for the constitution of a tribunal. A tribunal means each side then nominates two members, and the chairman or chairperson, is named by the World Bank. Its order is binding. Also, it can injunct either side. Now, India did not dispute this formulation. India just wanted a hierarchy of options. That first, talk bilaterally. Second, appoint an expert. Third, have a tribunal. The current situation was that either side could take resort to anything. So with Ratle, for example, India first said an expert was named. Pakistan went and said a tribunal. So both processes were going on simultaneously. It was a non-starter because the expert, the Pakistanis did not accept, and the tribunal, India did not even nominate its members. So India wanted that, especially besides other things, that India wanted, especially besides many other things, especially that Article 9 amended. That is the larger issue. The rest is a matter of detail. You can see Satluj, there are some concerns that this could trigger the Chinese into giving India trouble because they are the upper riparian when it comes to Indus, Satluj and Brahmaputra. Indus, anything the Chinese do will affect the Pakistanis. So unlikely they will do anything. Satluj, about 10% of Satluj's water comes from the Chinese side, from the Tibetan side. So it's not that much water, but remember, that water can come in glacial bursts, and that's where we had a disaster not long ago, and that's a matter of concern. In fact, India was very worried when after Galwan, China had stopped sharing this water data. I believe some of that has started now, or at least the resumption of that process has been talked about. The third is far in the east, and that is something we talked about in great detail in Cut The Clutter the other day. That's the new mega dam that the Chinese are building on their side just before the Brahmaputra does that humongous bend and comes into India. That is a matter of concern. That will take time, but history is not made of fortnights or weeks or years. History is made of generations. That's why it's important that India accelerates the work on the Subansiri Dam. Subansiri Dam will have a reservoir, not a very big reservoir, but still a reasonable sized reservoir. It's a run-of-the-river dam, but that reservoir will be useful in case there is a threat of flooding from the other side. Because if you are being flooded from the other side, at least you will be able to hold some water in this reservoir. That is also indirectly the function of some of the other run-of-the-river projects being constructed but long delayed on rivers tributaries coming into the Brahmaputra. In case there is a catastrophic flooding, each one of these could hold some water from the tributaries. That is the larger picture, at which point I asked Moushumi Gupta to join in. Moushumi, thanks for joining in. You've been covering the water issues very closely and also tracking some of these projects. You've visited some. Give us an idea of what impact this decision to hold the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance have.
Well, this decision to put the treaty on hold. So in the short term, it gives India opportunity to fast track projects like the 850 megawatt Ratle hydropower project, which is coming up on the chain of river. So right now, it is under work, but Pakistan has taken both the Ratle, it has objected to both the Kishan Ganga project, which was completed in 2018, and Ratle, on the ground that it changes the flow of the river and it will divert water from the western river where Pakistan has unrestricted access. So in fact, Pakistan has gone to the court of arbitration, and India has gone to neutral experts. So the World Bank has started two processes parallelly. So till the time that the treaty is in abeyance, it gives India time, if they want to expedite the completion of the project. Also, what it means is that since the treaty has been temporarily suspended, so India can flush the reservoirs. For instance, the one in the Kishan Ganga plant, and fill it up. So the IWT treaty mandated that flushing happens only during August, during the peak monsoon season. Flushing means desilting the reservoir and then filling it up. So Indus Water Treaty mandated that should happen only in August. But now, because it has been put on hold, so India can, if it wants, it can flush the reservoir, desilt the reservoir any time. Also, it gives India an opportunity if it actually wants to build up storage capacity on the Jhelum main river. Right now, India doesn't have a storage capacity on Jhelum, which is one of the western rivers. So if India wants, it can, it can build a dam, it can build a storage capacity, it can build a barrage, and to regulate the water flow of Jhelum. So that is another thing.
That will take a long time.
That's going to take a long time. In the short term, India doesn't need to share daily discharge data with Pakistan or the flood data with Pakistan, which they are mandated to do now under the Indus Water Treaty. Also, it doesn't need to allow Pakistan to, tour sites of ongoing and new projects on the Indus River Basin, which is mandated under the treaty, that any new project that India is building, it has to, share all the information with Pakistan, and Pakistan can come and visit the site. And India has to allow it. But now, they are under no obligation to do that because the treaty has been put in abeyance.
The important thing to understand is that the treaty is in abeyance. Treaty has not been abrogated. Just as the Pakistanis have put the Shimla agreement on hold.
Right.
So what are the other projects which have been planned or which are held up or which are part built on the western rivers?
So on the western river, for instance, Kishan Ganga project, it was completed in 2018, like I said, but there are other hydropower projects like the Ratle, Pakadul, Kiru, Kawar, so which are under construction, under various stages of construction. And all these projects, they were put on the fast track mode after 2016, after the Uri attack on the army camp in Kashmir. So there was this task force that was set up under the then principal secretary in the Prime Minister's office, Nipendra Mishra, to fast track these projects. So work has been expedited since then, but it's yet to be completed. So these are the main projects that are coming up on the western river. And the eastern rivers? So on the eastern river, you have the Shapur Kandi Dam, which has been completed. But it will take some more time for it to become operational because though the reservoir is complete, the 2 hydropower plant will be completed by 2025 end.
Yeah, but irrigation can start.
Yeah, irrigation can start.
Because as far as irrigation is concerned, in fact, and it's a surprise, it's Jammu and Kashmir or Jammu region, which is a bigger beneficiary of irrigation from this river than Punjab.
Right.
That's how this was negotiated in 1979. Sheikh Abdullah and Prakash Singh Badal, then Chief Minister, they signed the agreement. 1982, Mrs. Gandhi laid the foundation stone of this project. It was supposed to be completed in 1999. 2025, we are still sitting here. In fact, if you look at the area that will come under irrigation, 32,123 hectares will be in Jammu region, that is Kathua and Samba, and about 5,000 hectares in Punjab, and 206 megawatts electricity will be produced, which I think is incidentally to the project. The whole point is that this water should not be going into Ravi river, because Pakistan then also, it ultimately goes into Pakistan, because soon after this, the river becomes the border between India and Pakistan, and then Pakistan can pull it out through deep tube wells from the other side. So this is to protect that water and bring it to the Indian side. When this happens, then India gets almost 100% access to almost 100% of the water of the 3 eastern rivers.
Yeah. Once the Shapur Kandi project is complete and becomes operational, and the Uj multi-purpose project gets completed, then technically India gets to utilize 100% of the water from the eastern rivers.
Barring some additional water that comes up during monsoon time, which sometimes can become as much as 9 billion cubic meters, depending on the size of the monsoon. So if you have the reservoirs, you can hold more of it. In fact, earlier, this is after the parliament attack, in a cabinet meeting, in a CCS meeting of the Vajpayee government, this issue was brought up by Yashwant Sinha in one of the Vajpayee government's cabinet committees on security meetings after parliament attack, when Op Parakram was going on. And he said that terrorism is an atrocity by the Pakistani establishment on our people. So we should also do something, India should do something that also imposes punitive costs on Pakistan's people, so they feel the pain. And one way of doing that was to deny them even the small amounts of water from the eastern rivers that were still going there. So this thought has been an old one. And after that, Nitin Gadkari once said that I will build these dams and then no water will go to Pakistan. Then in the course of time, he ceased to be water resources minister also. And these projects sort of went along at the usual Indian speed, not with the kind of urgency it should have had, given the strategic implications and the strategic idea behind it.
Yeah, in fact, they were put on fast track mode after 2016, after that high-powered task force was set up under Nipendra Mishra. So,
and that's why Shapur Kandi coming on stream is good news, and Uj hopefully in the course of time will happen. But these are on our rivers. These are not on rivers whose water belongs to Pakistan. Although rivers, as I told you about the Ravi, a tributary goes into Pakistan and comes back. Both the Ravi and the Satluj in the border areas skirt Pakistan. The treaty says the Pakistanis can't interrupt any of that water flow. Similarly, if you see a long river like the Indus, it starts in Tibet, but it goes through Ladakh and right across Pakistan. And before it goes into the Arabian Sea, it then breaks up into tributaries. One of those tributaries again goes through India a little bit. And that is where India has many complaints with Pakistan, because as if that tributary changes directions. Rivers don't need visas to go anywhere, and rivers don't need any gate pass or any security pass to go anywhere. They choose their own course. So the Indus River, sometimes you hear about Sir Creek problem and some other problems India has in that area. India believes that Pakistan has built something called Left Bank Outflow Drain, LBOD, which pushes more salt water to the Indian side. So our soil becomes more marshy, and there is always a dispute about that. So rivers are always a contentious issue, because rivers are very powerful. And that is why this policy shift by India, amounts to a very major move. You agree, Moushumi?
Yes, in fact, today afternoon I was interviewing the former Indian Commissioner for Indus Water, Mr. P.K. Saxena, who said that, for a long time India has felt that Pakistan is using the Indus Water Treaty as a political tool against India to stall development in Jammu and Kashmir. And, it's not, India is not getting anything out of it. So, in fact, India has been talking about reviewing this treaty for quite some time. First time in 2016 after the Uri attack, Prime Minister Modi had said that, the treaty needs to be reviewed. Nothing much happened then. But then again in 2023, India wrote to Pakistan saying that, they want to renegotiate the treaty. And nothing again, no response from Pakistan. India followed it up again in 2024. That, we want to review the treaty. Nothing happened. So this time around, India is saying that, it has put it on abeyance. And in fact, Mr. Saxena said that this is the first step towards abrogating the treaty.
I see. So to that extent, India has crossed the policy Rubicon.
Yeah.
And it's an irony because Rubicon in sort of Roman history is actually a river.
Right.